Hello, Star Citizens. This is Clever Bard, and I'm hoping this clears up some things that were confusing. I was on Salty Mike's Answer the Call podcast, and my main point was that we need to know if the ship insurance system that they presented in CitizenCon 2954 is the premise that they are working from, and what they've communicated in the live Q&A about characters and creatures, right? They've said a lot of stuff in the last 6 months, and the post from Xylo just didn't say enough. And I'm going to walk you through it the way that I think I understand it. So, in philosophy, what we start with is let's understand where somebody is coming from, or let's set up our argument, right? Let's set up what we're talking about in a way that doesn't make us go through the whole thing like ad nauseum. So what they do here is they say, all right, unless you understand CitizenCon 2954, crafting your home, don't read the rest of this because you need a refresher. You need to be refreshed. So when I was talking to Mike, I was saying we need the devs to clarify whether or not it's continuing. And the point was they didn't clarify, but they did. This is saying operating from the information that we gave you on 2954 crafting your home and the stars are my destination. We are building upon that and introducing items into that world, into that communication. So they are saying that warranties for ships are still a thing, warranties for ships you've purchased, and they are still saying that there are 3 tiers of insurance. They are still saying that insurance alone pays out UEC alone. And I want to walk through this in a way that makes sense. So for personal loadout and ships and interiors, they're going to say something like registration, right? They can be registered and reclaimed, right? Specific kiosks or freight elevators. And ships will be reclaimed at the state they were previously registered, but items doesn't say that about items, right? Pledged items are auto-registered and never lose their registration status and can always be claimed back, like ships, right? We're making an insurance claim. Now, an insurance claim, as talked about here, is UEC. Now, until they say you get the item back, right? It only, and people are operating from the tier 0. You get the item back as it is in tier 0. In 1 and 2, they have the ability to steal the item. Now, I'm going to play you something that people are telling me separates item recovery from item insurance. And I have a rebuttal for this, but you've already kind of seen it in some of what I've said. Now, this is the Star Citizen Live Q&A, characters and creatures at minute and 14 seconds, or 40 minutes and 14 seconds.
You put a question about subscriber armor in here. Dangerous. Subscriber armor. When we lose it, do we use insurance or recraft a blueprint, and how does that work?
Are you looking at me?
They're all nervous because they know the community's reaction is going to be polarized, I think. And this is the type of thing that makes people... So this happened. We knew this was a plan. This was a plan all along, and none of it contradicts what is in here, I believe. So let's without further ado.
Me?
I'm looking at
Seriously?
you. Yes. So when with your subscriber armor, you do gain a blueprint when crafting is introduced into Star Citizen. I looked at you because we were talking about crafting, and I thought you might want to carry on that just for the record.
Nick's the one who's
It's a
going to get controversial topic.
Yeah, I'm very nervous about it.
And they didn't specify whether the blueprint was for the item or for a skin. I believe to appease everybody, they would give you a blueprint for the item, like the Karna rifle, and the red or purple or whatever tiger stripe skin so that you can apply the skin to any player crafted Karna rifle, or you can learn to upgrade that Karna rifle through the crafting if you want to. It gives you more options to have the skin separated from the item. Anyway.
Question I want to get right. So when crafting comes in Star Citizen, you will receive a blueprint for your items that you've got, and you will be able, those unique items you will be able to craft again.
So you'll be able to craft them again. And how can you reclaim something, right? How can you make a claim on something if you've crafted it multiple times? One time, is it a type of blueprint that has a limit? We don't know.
And just because I know somebody's immediately going to ask, that's not a replacement of the item kiosk, the item recovery a kiosk that we've talked about in the past. That is, I think it was at one point we intended it to be in a previous patch, and it just wasn't ready and stuff like this. There are still plans for that. When we solve a number of technical challenges, we were talking about that before the show. You know, how to basically how to keep that from being an item duplication machine. You know, it has to go through and find, like, where is the existing item? Where is the existing? Oh, it's floating out in the, halfway between Hearst and Microtech. Okay, it's got to clean that item up and and give you the new one, so we're not just spamming hundreds and hundreds of copies. But also, if it was stolen, if it was taken, well, okay, well, no. If it's sitting in somebody else's inventory, well, that's is that a legitimate kind of thing? Because we also don't want that to just become a duplicate thing. So there's a number of technical and logistical and just game rules things that we're still working out. But crafting seems like an immediate solution. Well, when it comes out anyway, like probably a more immediate solution to allow you to recover those items, because a lot of those items are really cool.
Absolutely.
I'm always a big fan.
So that's an implication that you can recover the item, right? So he said, they're still working it out. Now they could walk it back and they could say that we're getting the skin separate from the item, and you're just going to buy the item or craft the item from blueprints that you find in game from playing the game. But they could also give us the blueprint for the item, and I don't think that breaks anything as long as the same applies from the ships. As long as a player purchased item from the real world cannot be sold or traded to other players. As soon as another player picks it up, guess what happens, right? As soon as you claim it or whatever, it removes the cosmetic, right? So the cosmetic has to be separated out anyway. And I believe that the proper thing to do would be to give you two things. You give the item itself and the cosmetic as two separate blueprints. That way I can go to Salty Mike, I can buy a Karna rifle that he's made and it's super legit, and I can apply a cosmetic to it. I can apply a cosmetic to dozens of them. It's my cosmetic. I'll be able to do what I want. And then when somebody tries to steal that from me and registers it, then the cosmetic gets removed. It rusts off, say whatever you want. Now, part of the bricking could be the item turns off. There are guns in the real world today that don't work if you separate it from its paired ring, right? So Mobiglast, attributed guns and armor. Armor needs power to, do EVA and to do your HUD and to do other things. You might just come really slow in that armor because there's power related to heavy armor. If you don't have the full armor equipped, like the legs, and you just have a heavy torso and you have light legs on, it's not going to be as easy to walk. So I can assume that there's power resources in the armor themselves. Not power armor, but different life support and things like that, temperature control. So there are things to work out, but based on the premise, to summarize, based on the premise, they are addressing warranty. They are addressing what they've said here. They're working out the item recovery. Like Tarkov, when the raid ends, a day later you get your item back, and the lore is the scavs went out and they found your body. It was gone. You don't get it back. Boom. They have a more persistent universe because in Tarkov, the servers die. Nobody's going to come get that item, whether they got it or they didn't. And with this, you will mark it as stolen if you'd like. Like if you go back to the location, it's stolen, you brick it, and now because it's stolen, you will get to recreate it as a blueprint. But if it is not stolen and it's in the middle of space somewhere, like Jared said, then you get it back, right? as part of the cleanup. So I think I understand this to the degree that internally they understand it. And I'm hoping that anything I don't understand can be pointed out periodically by Mike if he's reviewing this. So, hi, Mike. Thank you for everything you do. We need people in the Star Citizen community to be critical of the devs and to make sure that they stay on point. We need the player economy to be robust. And something I said in one of my shorts from earlier is you need to know where you're going if you're going to start going there. And I think the tier 0 implementation does not tell us that they know where they're going. I don't think this sets up a good system to test whether these work. I think a better system to test whether these work would be a kiosk in the hangar that allows us to purchase the hangar attributed items for exorbitant prices, like $50,000 for a Karna rifle that has a red skin on it, right? That would create the similar type of money sink that insurance would, right? So I think that is where tier 0 should start. And if it's not a hangar attributed item, whether you purchased it or won it or whatever, I think spending money to get it back per time you do that is better than making all items attributable to being recovered if you're using them. Anyway, '07, you guys. You guys held the line through this, and thank you for answering the call. Yeah, have a good one, right?